Welcome to the Fat Dad Fishing Show podcast, the podcast aimed at helping saltwater fishermen catch more fish in less time and have a better on-the-water experience. My name is Rich Natoli, and I'm the host of this show, and this week I'm joined by Ed Gobo, owner of Captain Hank's Tackle, and John Creeley, owner of Creeley Custom Rods, to talk through our week on the water, our recent contest winner, and the most common questions we get asked while on or off air. So kick back, relax, and take it all in. Hello, welcome to the Fat Dad Fishing Show live stream and podcast audio. My name is Rich Natoli. I am the host of this show. And tonight we're going to do one where we're going to go through a lot of the questions that I, along with regular co-host Ed, who's popping up on the screen, and John, run into throughout the weeks at various times. I think this is a better format here. That just come up, and we just want to, we answer individually, but we continually get these questions, and thought it would be fun to kind of go through this, maybe catch up with some things that we haven't gotten back to people about so far. So Ed, welcome. Ed is the owner of Captain Hank's Tackle. Good to see you.
What's going on? I felt like I just saw you.
Yeah, like yesterday, right?
I think I did.
Yeah, and then we have John Creeley, the owner of Creeley Custom Rods. John, how you doing?
Gentlemen, how are you guys doing?
I'm
What's going on?
I'm doing well. It's an odd show tonight. It's one that we need to kind of do every once in a while, I think, because we do get a lot of questions, about the topics that we go through as a follow-up. Most people actually look at these videos afterwards, so they're not live, or they listen to the podcast, which comes out on a Thursday. So this will be out this Thursday. And if people have questions, they can't interact in the chat. Well, then they send the email to me, rich@fatdadfishing.com. They hit up Ed or John on social media, whether it's through Instagram or it's through Facebook or something like that. So want to make sure that we get some of these things in, and we have a bunch of questions. Now, we don't have forever. So I picked out a few that I think are among the most common, and hopefully it speaks to people. Now, those that are in the live stream tonight, if you have any others, you may as well throw them in now, because this is when we're going to be focused on that. We're going to have guests coming up. We're still working on next week, but we've got the following 2 weeks already booked up. We're going to have cover person from the Fisherman Magazine for August, the New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition, Scotty Sevens, Captain Scotty, coming on. And he's going to be talking about various topics. And then we're going to have Stefanos from SFO Tackle Shop coming on. And he's going to talk about, now this will be for certain people that always have the questions. This will be talking about a little bit about the shop, which is my hometown tackle shop. But also we're going to talk about night fishing, which is really one of his specialties. And Ed, you probably know the feeling of this. When you run a shop or you're doing tackle and gear and you have to spend the time during the day doing work, you go fishing at night. And that's what he's been doing for quite a while. So he's going to come on and we're going to talk about some saltwater nighttime fishing.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to talk to those two guys. That's going to be cool.
Yeah. Now we also have Frank Mahalik has agreed to come on and do a TOG opening for the fall season. So I know the summer season just opened. The one fish in New Jersey at 15 inches. It's open up along the coast now. But, severe limits on what you can keep. So a lot of people look at this as kind of like the soft launch. It's not the true season yet. The true season starts when you can increase the catch limits, and he's going to come on ahead of that. And for those of you that are familiar with Frank, and if you listen to this podcast or watch this live stream, you've seen him on here before. He's one of the guys that you need to talk to when you're talking about TOG, because he is just all about it. Signer of the Century Pro Togger. He's got a lot of experience, a lot of information that he can share. So he's going to be coming on. Then we have a few others that are going to be coming on as well. So that's what we have coming up. Now, before we dive into everything and see how the past week has gone, we're going to go a little bit through our own personal fishing jaunts for the three of us. But before we do that, I do want to recognize the contest that Ed has been kind of running. So we have asked for people to help us out, not by subscribing to the YouTube channel, not by joining to becoming a member, not for likes or shares or anything like that, even though those are all appreciated. We're trying to get the podcast really up and off the ground, and we're getting a lot of momentum. But one of the things that really helps us is to get positive reviews. So written out your review of the podcast and a 5-star rating on Apple. 86% of our listeners are on iTunes or whatever other Apple. Apple has like 6 platforms. 86% of them come from that. So that's the one that's most meaningful. And the more reviews that we get and the more ratings, the better it is for the algorithm on those podcast platforms. They'll show it to more people. So really appreciate if people would go out and do that. We've gotten a bunch, and I'm going to go into one of the most recent. But Ed, do you want to kind of go through the contest that you set up for incentivizing people to do that and the results of it?
Yeah. So last week I put it out there. Whoever puts a review on the iTunes, Apple, whatever podcast thing, I put you guys all in a running for Captain Hank's pack of. I haven't decided yet. It's going to be a surprise, but it'll be good. So I think we got 6. So let me try and add this here and do it. We got 6. So we're going to do a roll live. So let me add that in. All right. So you guys can see that. All right. So I put all the names in from the 6 that we got, and then we're going to spin it. So let's see what happens.
Hold on. Was it only 6?
There was only 6. Yeah. So it looks like Mike M. So congratulations.
There we go, Mike M.
So reach out to me. All right, let me see how to get that off. So reach out to me whenever you get a chance. You can either email me or Facebook, whatever. Just get a hold of me.
Right. And okay, so I said it was only 6 because you did a definitive date range to do it. And
right.
Yeah.
So it was from last Monday till the end of the month.
Right.
So I took the 6 that were there.
Yeah. So congratulations. I wish that I had won that. Because I dropped a lot of lures yesterday. We'll get into that in a minute, but I do want to also thank, now I don't know how to pronounce this, Sir Will Wookai. He did a review on Apple for us on the 18th of July, and I just want to thank him for that. It says, the Fat Dad content is fantastic. I'm enjoying my time on the water so much more now that I found this channel. Thanks for helping me find success on the water and tight lines. So greatly appreciated. I'll be reading out the others as we go forward, but we're looking for more. So we have our first winner. I'm going to add in there, and I wish I had it with me, but I was kind of running to get here on time and setting up, and I accidentally closed all my screens before I could run and get it. But I'm going to give away a Fat Dad Fishing trucker's cap, and it's going to go all the way back to anybody that put a review in ever. So as long as it says it's not just the rating, but the 5 stars, that's important. That's just as important, but the review also. So anything that you write, like I just read. So I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning. So if you have done one, I have a bunch of people's emails already. Send me a picture, a screenshot of the review that you put in, and just email it to rich@fatdadfishing.com, and we'll put you in for that. And then we'll do that through the end of August. So we'll do it for a full month, and maybe we'll throw some other stuff in there as well. So big thank you.
Some more Captain Hank's gear.
Yeah. And yeah, so as time goes on, we may be throwing more and more in. I mean, I know how I'll be. The more that we get, the more excited I'll get, the more stuff I start throwing in. But big thanks to everyone. Greatly appreciated. So let's just start off. We'll say thank you to the people that are already in the chat. Again, if you're here watching, but you're not chatting, I don't know that you're here. So I can only recognize the people that have typed something. So for the rest of you, hello, and thanks for coming in. Crabbing and Fishing Participation Trophy, Billy Ackerman, who was part of the story of this weekend for Ed and I. We have got, let's see, Rob is in that. Rob's a guy that I have seen and interacted with on social media quite a bit, but have never fished with. I'd like to. James Flynn, 609 Fishing, my man Joe. John Hutchinson, again, still hoping to get on the water with John. We got Charlie in there. How you doing? Heaven and L. And then we got conversation going on with all those folks. So welcome to everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Now let's jump into what the hell happened in the past week when we were all out in the water. And I want to start with John on this one, because I can't really I can't really jump in because I didn't get on the water with John this week. So, John, how was your week out on the water?
My week on the water was actually land-based. Did not go as planned. So, restrictions have made us stay at land. I went down to the Longport Fishing Pier looking for sheep's head at the top of the tide, and they were there. Just couldn't stick them. Got a striped bass that was 24 and a half inches, and it went 3 pilings down, wrapped around. Tag caught a couple striped bass. There is a bunch of micro tog working in the water column, which I found odd. And yeah, it's about it. Not much else going on. And Tad lost probably a slot fluke when he got it up to the rail. So
you were out. You were targeting sheep, right?
Sheep and fluke.
Fluke. Okay.
Yeah.
All land based. Were you fishing heavy structure like piers or bridges, or were you on jetties?
It was primarily we were on bridges all day. We jumped from one bridge to another bridge. I did want to hit a rock pile down in Longport, but parking was chaotic, so that did not happen.
Longport, I mean, it's impossible. Half the places you park there, you're going to get your car towed.
Yeah, there's a couple spots, but you need to show up early in the morning to get a spot. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
I went there one time. It was in the winter, and I was striped bass fishing off the beach, and I parked right near the beach. And a police officer pulled up. He's like, "Dude, you got to move. You're not allowed to park up here. The residents don't like it." I'm like, "There's literally nobody here." He's like, "It may be stupid, and I totally agree with you. And don't curse me out because I'm just telling you I'm going to be forced to ticket you or have you towed." I was like, "So where the hell am I supposed to park?" He's like, "Okay, here's 2 spots that are real close that they can't get you in trouble for." And he told me the 2 spots. So it wasn't that far, but it's just annoying. That's how wealthy people are. They don't want you fishing in front of their house like Karen and Darren, and they don't want you parking on the street, even if they're not there. So
Karen and Darren.
Yeah. So
that's Longport for
you. Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So you had not the results that you wanted. It's kind of good that you didn't go down on the jetties and on the rocks because for those that don't know, the reason that they were land-based is because of an injury to the guy he was going with. I'm not going to say who, but he was unable to go out on the water. Last thing you want is him walking rocks with his injury. So,
yeah, but we have intel that the one rock pile that I'm looking at is actually holding sheep's head right now. So I'm going to try and get there, either kayak or foot. It don't matter. I'm going to give it a shot there.
Yeah. All right. Ed, you want to start off with well, first of all, you and I were out yesterday with Billy. Now, did you go at all during the week before that?
No.
Okay. So you got one day to talk about.
I've been running I've been running like crazy with jigs.
Okay. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. So let's hear your synopsis for yesterday, what you're targeting and how it went.
So for me, it was more so a day of learning. I picked up some cameras, some Chinese GoPros, not the real ones, but so I set them up, tried to learn that, get the camera thing down and the angles, which I did terrible with. And tried to fish in between. It was a good day. Billy learned some stuff. I learned some stuff. You caught fish. We all caught fish.
I learned some stuff.
It was fun. We got churned up in the washing machine that is Atlantic City Inlet.
Oh my God. It was a washing machine and a half. It was crazy. I got on video some jackass in a boat who decided that he was going to go full speed through. Maybe Billy remembers. I think this boat, if I recall, there were a bunch of jackasses. The guy comes through. He's got 900 horsepower pushing this boat through. It's a big cabin cruiser. And he takes a boat head on and he doesn't give enough clearance. So there's a Carolina skiff on one side of the channel, not in the middle of the channel, but on one side. There's Billy on the other side. I'm just a little bit north of him, but in line with him. And then there's a boat going between us. This guy decides he needs to bring his 900 through at full speed, but he can't go straight because he's going to hit somebody. So what he does is he does a full speed slurve through there. So he does the right turn and then the hard left turn to cut him behind the boat that he just passed. he waked the hell out of the Carolina skiff, and then he waked the hell out of Billy and me. And I just kind of gave him the, what's up? And he decided to give me the finger. I was like, okay, all right, man. It doesn't change that you're an absolute ass and you shouldn't be on the water. I mean, he absolutely, because the outside of his turn was only about 20 yards from that Carolina skiff. I mean, just waked the hell out of him.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh my God. I got that on video. And I said some things. I'm not going to put it on. I didn't yell it or anything, but I was talking to Billy and we weren't using the best language. So I'm not going to put it on the video. But yeah, it was just, and it didn't even look good in the widescreen on the video camera. Now, I will say, I feel your pain when you go out the first time with video cameras, the angles.
Yeah, that was rough.
It's not easy. It's not easy. Ask Joe. Joe does a really good job with his 609 fishing. Me. John, you've been toying around with it for a little bit, but you don't have a ton of experience with the camera either. But I know you and Billy both were unhappy with your video at the end of the day.
Did you see the Dropbox?
I haven't looked at it yet. No.
God, I only put one in there to look at it when you get a minute.
Yeah, it's tough. You'll get the hang of it though. It's tough because you never know what angle it's shooting over the bill of a hat.
Well, that, and because it was Sunday, like I normally I try to avoid weekends, but this just lined up for everybody. So like my head's constantly on a swivel when I'm out there. I'm always looking over my shoulder. So that's another thing. Like the camera's like snapping back and forth, and it looks like I'm on speed or something. Yeah. Like it's just all over the place.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping I'm gonna try and get out Wednesday and maybe give it another shot, and maybe things will be a little bit slower.
Yeah. Well, I may be joining you on Wednesday. So I'll give my review of yesterday. It was an interesting launch spot that we launched out of. It was a new one for us, and man, I'm not
tickets at the old one.
What's that?
I said we get tickets at the old one.
You don't want to get your trucks ticketed. And it was a better spot to launch if you didn't have the capability to back right down to the water. So we picked that one and got a workout going over that really soft sand, bringing them down to the water. We were very fortunate when we came back because the beach that we launched from was packed and everybody wanted to help us. So people were helping us push them back up, which is really nice after a long day on the water. So we caught the incoming tide. We rode it back, got some action going, but we decided, man, we're not going to spend the whole day in one spot. So we let the incoming tide push us all the way into the backwaters, fished a couple of channels. It was a lot of micro stuff if you weren't right on the ledges. And I mean, I was working that depth finder like crazy. I was just staring it down. And anytime it got flat for more than about 20 seconds, I was pedaling and I was moving back. And if I hadn't been looking at it, I would have known I was on the flat because when I'm talking micro flounder, micro fluke, Billy took a picture of one that he caught. His hand was bigger than the fluke that he pulled up. And that was not a surprise. It was just the smallest of these micros. And it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad in the flat areas, but there were just tons. Billy caught 20 plus fish. I probably caught, a little less than that. Ed, I don't know how many you caught, but you were pulling them in.
5 or 6.
5 or 6. You ended up with a slot. I ended up with a slot, which, John, you'd appreciate this. It came in at like 17.98. I actually took the leader, which is a 40-pound leader, and I laid it between the tail and the 18, and it fit. And I was like, all right, I'm good. It'll shrink. So I got the slot, and then I got 2 overs for the day. And I'll tell you what, it was the sluggish bites again. It was not hard hits unless they were the micros. The micros were slamming, absolutely slamming the hooks. The big one, it was just, and this will be up in a video this week, the big ones were just grabbing on and sitting. And then you just had to wait. And then as soon as they tried to, lift it off the bottom, and as soon as they try to regain the bottom, slam it. And that's
I blame the water temps on that, man. It was cold.
It was cold in the morning. It warmed up nicely though. Warmed up a good 6-7 degrees during the day.
Yeah, but it was barely 60? It was 60 in the morning, I think, in the incoming.
I had it 58 on the incoming, and then at the top of the tide, it got up to 60. It was 64 in the outgoing.
Super clean water, though. It was clear. You could see, I was in like 6 feet. I could see my jig all the way at the bottom.
Yeah, it was It was a nice day. I thought it was a great day, even though it was just the attack of the microfish. I thought it was a great day on the water. The washing machine got really ridiculous in the afternoon. It was so bad that we actually retreated to the inlet so we could get some peace, which is not usually where you go to get peace. Went into those currents in order to get away from the bad stuff. But I also caught a kingfish. I also caught several sea bass. And actually, one was probably, it wasn't a keeper size, but it was a nice size for the backwater. And it was right where you would expect to catch it, where the ICW branches off into a major channel. And it was right on the corner there, just hugging the structure. So all of them caught on gulp for me. So that was the day. That was the day for me. So got out of there with dinner and everything. So I'm pretty happy. I know Billy was happy because he was able to christen his new kayak with some fish. He didn't get the keeper that he wanted, but it's always good when you get out there for the first day and everything goes right.
I told Billy at the launch, he was loading up a cooler with ice. I said, Billy, if you put that on your boat, you will not bring home fish. Yeah. Every time I bring ice, I don't catch fish. So guess what? I don't bring ice anymore.
So that actually leads into one of the questions that we have. And kind of. So the question is, how do you keep your fish fresh out on the water? So why don't we go around? Now, this is kayak specific. However, when I had my boat, it was a 19-foot Carolina skiff. I did not have I had a cooler on it, but it was the cooler seat. So that essentially I stowed all my gear in there. So I actually did this the same way. So I won't answer first, but John, how are you keeping your fish that you're keeping fresh when you're out on the water?
So I think all of us, I don't know if you have one, Ed, but I know me and you, Rich, we have one. We have one of the, it would be considered a stringer clip. It looks like a big old snap swivel. Put it on the side of the kayak through the gill plate and throw it over on the side. The other thing that I'm going to be trying out is I bought one of the culling bags, and it's a decent sized bag that it will fit a 27, 28 inch flounder in it, no problems. So catch that bigger one. If you're looking for even a bigger one, say tournament day, throw that on the side and see what happens. See if it'll survive. So those are the two routes that I go with kayak fishing.
Gotcha. Ed, what are you doing?
All right, can I ask about that culling bag, John? What is it like? Just keep the fish alive?
Yes,
off the side of the boat.
Yes, it's a zipper meshed bag. It's nylon coated, and you just clip it right to the side.
Gotcha. For me, I have I use a stringer, so it's got a real long metal spike, about that long. So I'll go right through the cheek of the flounder, and it'll usually almost 90% of the time catch the gills, which will automatically bleed it, and then just keep it in the water. Depends on where I'm fishing. If I'm fishing at home, I'll keep them in the water until I get out, and the 10-minute ride, from the water to my house, they're fine. As long as you don't leave them in the sun. If I'm further away, I do have a cooler bag. I'll stop and buy ice, but I do not buy ice until after I have fish.
Yeah, so I changed mine up. I used to just bring one of those $5 Walmart bags and I just throw ice in it. Now it's a $5 Walmart cooler bag, so the ice will melt by the end of the day. And I would keep cold drinks in there, and then I'd throw fish in a trash bag and then throw it in on top of it. And then, if it gets all fishy, just throw it out. It's $5. I actually have 4 of them left in my garage just for that. But lately I've just been using the stringer that John talked about. And it's really a spearfishing stringer. So it's a big hoop with a clip on it, and you clip it onto yourself, and you can just hook it, as he said, through the mouth, under the gill plate and then up through the mouth. And that will also hit the gills. So if you're going to use it, you better make sure you're not culling that thing later if you're going to use it that way. Now, I will say, the reason I wanted to talk about this one first is because yesterday there was a little bit of a situation where, and I always say, people are like, you're crazy to use stringers in saltwater. And I'm like, it's rarely a problem with sharks. You're not going to have too many issues with them. Maybe if you're in an inlet. Now, I did get on video a couple of years ago. I was out with Tyler Deck, and a small brown shark was going after his weak fish on the stringer, and he was able to get it out in time. Yesterday was interesting. So as I mentioned earlier, my eyes were pinned to the depth finder, and we were fishing a spot in the inlet, and I was really trying to stick tight to the windblown. It was the windblown side of the inlet and a really severe drop off, 30 feet down to about 55. So I'm continually looking at it, and I'm jigging down there and then moving back up. And I rarely pay attention to fish that show up on there. An arch shows up, it's like, whatever. It's not a fluke. That's what I'm fishing for. Unless I'm striped bass fishing or bluefish, I don't really pay attention. Well, yesterday, at the end of the day, I get a big arch showing up at about 45 feet of water. It's about 50 where I am. And I barely notice it. And I pedal back up and I start going down. Now I'm working my way down, so I'm not in the same spot. As I'm pedaling up, I get another big arch. It's about 40 feet down. And I start drifting. Then it comes back again. And it's about 30 feet down. And then I'm thinking, that's a really big arch. And it keeps coming back and it keeps coming up. So I'm like, I wonder if I should take this stringer out of the water. I got two big fluke and a kingfish on there at that point. And I'm like, no, I'm being stupid. Then it comes up, it's like 15 feet, 10 to 15 feet. I was like, all right, it's out. So I had to pull that thing off and pull it in. I am sure that was a shark coming up there. And interestingly enough, so I go over, I tell Ed, dude, you might want to take your stringer out of the water. Pretty sure that there's a shark that was kind of scoping me out, because even as I was pedaling over to Ed, it kept showing up underneath me for about the first 30 yards, and then it just disappeared. So it was following. So I'm thinking it's a shark. He pulls his, I don't even know if you pulled yours out, but as I'm driving home, Billy calls me and he says, did you see the video? I'm thinking, no, I'm driving. And he said, well, there was a bull shark right where we were fishing today. And it was a big bull shark. I can't verify it's a bull shark, but it was a big, girthy 6 to 8 foot shark that was thrashing through the water. So you never know, but I normally don't care about the stringer, but I was thinking that's pretty big arches. It's stalking if it is a shark. And the last thing I wanted to do is pull that kind of stringer, which is all metal, which is connected to the handle of my kayak. You put a 200, let's say it's a bull shark, an 8 foot bull shark is going to be over 200 pounds. So I was like, I don't want to be in the water. So I might reconsider when I'm fishing the inlets again and go back to using the bag and maybe get some ice ahead of time, because that would not have been pleasant to get a shark pulling on the flounder, get the stringer in its mouth, which is just heavy metal, and just pulling me over. Probably scared the hell out of the shark, but
go for a shark ride.
Ooh, that would be fun. Yeah. So I don't know about that. I may be redoing it, but as of right now, the answer is I do use a stringer for most of my fishing. All right. Another one. Ed, this is for you because you get this question quite often. Can I pay you to take me fishing?
No, you cannot. I am not a legal captain. I do not have the business insurance for that. Maybe in the future, but we can fish as friends.
John, can people pay you to take them fishing?
No, they cannot. Same exact reason as Ed. I do not have my Coast Guard certifications. I do not have the business insurance as well. I do have a second kayak, so if you want to get out, like Ed said, as friends, I'd be more than happy to take you out.
All right, my answer is going to be the same. I am not a licensed captain. I've considered it in the past, but I really don't want to have a kayak guiding business. So, the expense is actually, I've got a lot of time on my hands right now. I might actually do it now, but
you should.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. So I don't know, but as of right now, no. So don't email asking any of us to can I pay you? Just take me out and show me some spots. Email and say, hey, Ed, I want to head out and I'm thinking about going out these days. Do you want to join me? And that's going to work.
Right. Also, let me jump in. Rob English, who's a good friend of the podcast, he is licensed and insured and ready to go. So he's got extra boats and everything. So reach out to him if you really want to pay for a trip.
Yeah. And I would recommend, it's a good idea if you're not sure what you're doing. You want to get some other insight. Most of these guys have a lot of experience, a lot of insight, and Here's the thing. Here's my opinion when it comes to a guided trip. You're not paying for the fish that day. You're paying for the knowledge that you can get from those guides. And that's usually why they're guiding, so that they can share the knowledge and help you to get on your own fish later, knowing if you can get them on the fish, you're going to come back to them anyway and keep using their service in the future. So Rob English is a good one. All right. So nobody here can take any payment. Here's another big one. Ed, this one's specifically for you.
Oh, no.
And it's about jigs. And this is a recent comment and question on one of the videos, but it is not the first one. What are your thoughts about using true bucktail from deer versus synthetics?
Okay. So there's a couple different synthetics out there. So obviously there's the silicone that everybody sees. That kind of started with like spinner baits and stuff like that from the freshwater. They work okay. I've caught quite a few fish on them in the past, and I started doing them myself. So, they're great. They work. Synthetic bucktail, they call it faux something or other. They're using them on these flare hawk jigs. Mostly, I think they're for like cobia and for bigger stuff. I don't have anything against it. I use a little bit of it when I do. I made some flies that look like sand eels.
Right.
It works really well. It keeps its what's the word I'm looking for? It keeps its structure together. I don't feel it has the action that natural bucktail does.
That's what I was going to say.
I think that when the faux stuff gets wet, it just, like I said, it holds its shape. Whereas when natural hair gets wet, it will taper down and almost take the shape of a minnow or a smaller fish. When it's tied at the front, it's flared, and then it tapers back naturally.
Right.
So, and that's the other thing with bucktail. It tapers naturally. If you grab one of your bucktails and look at the hair, it's going to be thicker at the base than it is at the tip. So it naturally has a taper to it.
I thought one of the more interesting things was when I was at your place the one time and you were going through and showing me the difference between the hair, where you take it on the tail, what you use it for on different bucktails, and what you get out of it. I didn't know that. And I had made, I tied flies for years, and I never realized that there were differences in there. John, what do you think about the synthetic? Now, just right now, the bucktails, synthetic bucktails versus the natural.
I catch more fish on the natural over the synthetic because I think, like Ed said, it's the way it takes the shape. It makes more of a natural look to it over the synthetic. So, time and place for everything, though, in my opinion, because it goes back to, like you said, silicone was another thing that you brought up, and I know that wasn't part of the question, but...
Well, it's the next question, so roll right into it.
Okay. Silicone, I'm using that out front on the reefs. And the reason I say that is that the silicone has more of a squid look to it when you're swimming it. And no, big fluke loves squid. So I'd rather use a silicone skirt out on the reef over a bucktail.
Gotcha. Ed, when do you use the silicone? Besides, now I know what you're thinking. One of your answers is going to be besides when you're testing lures.
Well, yesterday was a run on a prototype, which was I lost it, so I didn't get a chance to catch anything on it. I lost it, and I knew the spot where I was going. I knew there was a snag, but I didn't calculate my timing right, and I didn't pull it up fast enough. So that was my own fault.
Yeah.
But I like the silicone. I'm slowly becoming a fan of it. Believe it or not, it's not as easy to work with as most people think. At least to do it the way I'm not going to say right because there's no real wrong way, but
the way you prefer,
the way I want to work with it. It's a little bit more difficult than bucktail. But like John said, I think it works better offshore. It takes if it's more does what it wants to do. Whereas with bucktail, it's going to take that minnow shape. Silicone just kind of does whatever. There's no memory to it. There's nothing keeping it from doing whatever it wants. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you get the flutter out of the different silicone streams as opposed to it all moving like the shape of a fish, right? So I'm actually going to agree. I thought we'd disagree on these things. I'm going to agree with all those. The other time that I use silicone is when there's bluefish in the area, or there's dogfish, or there's something toothy. I'll use the silicone just because I don't want to waste a good bucktail, which is by far my favorite for many species, not just fluke. I use a bucktail for many things. Now, bluefish, bucktail, if you want to catch them, bucktail to me reigns supreme, but I won't do it because then you're just ruining your bucktail and like 2 or 3 fish. So I end up using the silicone. So yeah, it'll pull out 1 string or 2 strings at a time, but you got like 50 strings. If it's bucktail, it may take off a third or half of it in just 1 fish. So,
Yeah, no matter how good you tie them, they're going to come apart. Their teeth cut the hair.
Yeah, it cuts it right off. So they end up getting shaved really quick. So that's what I would do. It'd be interesting to see what other people think. One of the comments from James Flynn is tuna loves silicone. I absolutely, pretty much every tuna lure that I used was silicone. Well, bucktails, I still like bucktails for tuna when you're casting at them, but silicone was pretty much rules the tackle boxes for tuna, when you're offshore.
Well, they put them all on spreader bars and stuff, right?
They put them on everything. That and the cedar plug was actually my favorite for trolling. That thing, for just being a stick of wood with a lead weight on the front of it, it was that thing was awesome. But we'll talk about tuna fishing some other time when we have a guest coming on to talk about tuna. All right, here's one. John, where can I launch my kayak?
My best suggestion, especially if you're starting out new, is the Go Paddling app. That will give you a good idea to find a spot. It'll show you a satellite picture of the area. That way you can see if there's parking, what the launch looks like. That is my suggestion, because half of these launch points, too, that some of our launch points will put you right in a spot that, it kind of spot burns you right away. So I would say do the app, and that's going to be the best way to get started out. You drive past somewhere, take a look. Can you pull the kayak off? Can I park on the side of the road? A lot of it's doing research and time, just like you were to go fishing, putting in the time, learning the beach and everything. Same thing. Put in the time to go find a spot to launch the kayak. But if you're looking to go right away, download the app, Go Paddling.
Ed?
I have never heard of that app, so I will look into that. But for me, I will launch my kayak in any ditch that I can throw it into.
So you're driving around and looking.
Yeah, I do a lot of scouting when I'm out and about and doing other things. Google Earth is another good one, at least to get a game plan down. But my recommendation would be to go scout before you even bring a kayak with you. Scope it out, make sure it's a safe spot, make sure, if it's, for instance, off of a parking lot, make sure you can park there. If it's a business and there's somewhere you can, a creek running behind it, talk to the business owner, get permission. We got popped in Atlantic City parking, which is bogus because the way the signs are set up. That's a conversation for another day, but make sure you can park there. Otherwise you have to pay Atlantic City $50, and I'm still a little salty about that.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I started off using the Go Paddling or the paddling.com app. You can go on the website or you can go on the app. I'll say this about it. It will show you a lot of places, but it doesn't have great updates. So there are places that are on there for launches that are actually not there anymore. There's one in Brigantine on the north side where if you read the comments, it's like, yeah, just a little hill and then you're down in the water. No, that is not the way it is. You cannot launch there at that point. And unless there's comments, you also wouldn't know that if you park across the street from that when it was a good launch, you'd get towed. So, be careful with it. It's a good place to start. As somebody who doesn't live close to the water, I do a lot of mine with Google Earth, and I look for the most recent maps, and I just kind of look over and look for things that look like they might be good spots to launch. Anything near a bridge, most of the bridges in South Jersey, the smaller bridges, you're going to have access to get underneath them and launch next to them, or any place where you can drive on the beach and you don't need to have a beach pass, which is a lot of inlet types of areas. are good. So that's how I'm doing it. But nothing really beats when you can drive around and just look, like Ed's talking about. See, Ed with where he lives, he can jump in his truck and in 10 minutes he could just be scouting random roads that he knows border water, and he can find spots. For John, it's going to take him half an hour to get down there to start scouting in the closest areas, and for me it's going to be about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So it all depends. But that, and get to talking to people that are out on the water and ask them, when you're out there, where do you launch when you're in this area? What are some good launches in that area? And make sure you ask questions about it, because some of them you can drive right down. Some of them have easy, launches. Some of them look great until you get on the water and you notice that it's a 4-knot current, and that makes it a little bit difficult. So if you're really experienced, maybe that doesn't bother you. But, sometimes I consider myself pretty experienced, but there's one launch that I don't like doing just because of that. And the fact that it's at the edge of a sod bank and drops to 40 feet in one step. So,
if I could add to that too, when you do scout these places, take note of the tide and which direction it's running and where you're going to go. I tend to plan my trips around the tide. So, if I really want to get in the back, I'll get out there at like the bottom of, or the beginning of the incoming. That way it'll help me get back there and then fish, slack tide, and then let the outgoing take me back out.
Right.
Saves you a lot of energy.
One of the mistakes that this you'll run into, I went fishing off of Staten Island, and I did it just by looking on Google Earth, and I found a beach into the Raritan. I was like, this is awesome. I'm just going to do this. And I got down there. It was about high tide, and I went out. When I came back, it was low tide. And man, it was mud for probably 150 yards. So pulling 150 pounds of kayaking gear across that mud was one of the worst experiences I've ever had trying to get it out of there. And even when I put the cart on, it was just sliding like it was on skis, and that was not easy. And there were boulders sticking up, so you couldn't just drag it all the time. I was going in circles around stuff. It was bad. So that's a good point, Ed. Try to look at it at different tides, understand what you're going to be in when you're coming back in, and make sure that you have a good cart if you're going to be launching in somewhere where you have to go over soft sand. Because if you don't have a good cart with the good wheels, you're going to hate life when you're dragging those things down there. So
I am going to chime in on that real quick. The cart, if anybody decides to buy the wilderness cart, make sure you buy the one with the beach wheels. Otherwise, you will regret your life.
Yeah. I mean, that's a classic one. It's a great cart, but it's got thin wheels.
Yeah.
I think we need to invest in one of them balloon carts, Rich.
Mine's pretty easy to use, to be honest with you. The C-Tug with the Sandtrax wheels. I mean, it's easy for me. I mean, I was able to, yesterday there were 3 of us. So and the people on the beach were helping on the way back. They were helping to push the kayak up the ramp out of this really soft sand. I actually brought mine up solo, with the exception of that ramp. 2 guys helped me out, and I was able to do it. But I don't know, man, with your cart, if you could have done that on your own, because they're so much thinner, those wheels. So
that wasn't fun.
Yeah. So just some things to consider when you're looking at launch spots. Here's another one for you. I'm going to start with this one. Will the backwater fluke bite slow down now that it's in July? So the answer, I'm going to tell you, this is based on actual facts and on experience. It will slow down for most people, because most people won't be targeting them as much as before, or they're going to target them in the wrong spots. But no, there are going to be big fluke in the backwaters well past the New York, New Jersey seasons. Delaware is lucky they stay open. They're going to be there well after it's illegal to keep them. So, the one thing that you have to keep in mind at this time of year, they are moving out. So a lot of them will move out of the backwaters. They're going to move off to the wrecks. That's where you're going to see all these nearshore flounder fishing out on the reefs and the wrecks. And they're going to be doing really well, because a lot of those big fish that were in the back are moving out, but not all of them. And not so many that you can't make a full day targeting fluke and get your limits, even the old limits. the 3 over 18, 3 over 18 and a half, 3 over 19, depending on what state you're in, you should be able to get a limit all the way through the end of the season. From day one, actually from a month before day one of the season to a month and a half after, you should be able to target fluke and get a limit. Does anyone disagree with that?
No.
I don't disagree with it. Now, here's one thing I have to
But he does.
I have to say. With the water temp this year, I don't think they're moving as quickly as they do. I think they're still hanging back.
Yeah, and I think a big thing about it is also a lot of people think that maybe they're gone. They're not gone. They're just not as active when the water's cold. You know, they're still there.
We do have a celebrity in the house.
Oh, hey, boy.
We got Qua in there.
What's up, buddy?
We got several celebrities in the chat at this point.
So yeah, I mean, getting back to where we were at, it goes back to, like you said, they're not as active. You know, the smaller fish, they're a little more active because they're small, they're hungry, they got to eat, they got to grow. The bigger ones, they just play lazy. They're not burning off the calories, so they're not going to hit as hard. So I don't think these fish are moving as normal. You know.
Yeah. Well, and for me, August is always my best month. So I'm looking forward to a great August. I had 2 over slots. It's so weird going to this slot. We're targeting sizes that we try to avoid with every fiber of our being for like a decade. And now they're the target. It's so wrong.
And they're hard as hell to find.
It's so wrong. But I'm not even finding borderline fish. You know, well, I caught the one slot that I caught this week was definitely borderline, just under and in the slot. But for the most part, like I'm either catching 20 and over, which is not close in my opinion, or I'm catching like 8 to 12 inch, and it's crazy. Thank God they're not sea bass just killing those gulps when they're out there, you know, because fluke don't kill the gulps that bad, but just the number of those little ones is just crazy.
Just remember that I think that goes back to the water temp too. As soon as it starts to warm up, I think we're going to start to see more of those sea bass get a little active too.
Yeah. Now
it should be.
Go ahead, Ed.
What do you mean? It should be like 80 degrees now, and it was barely 60. Like or July. Yeah.
As it heats up, let's all pretend that we're going to have an east wind for the next 2 weeks.
Yes.
And it's gonna bring in the water temperatures that you should have in August. So let's say we're mid 70s to the 80s in water temperature in New Jersey, right? Southern New Jersey. If that's the case, that's where you're going to start looking at the deep water. That's going to help because it's going to start condensing the larger fish into the more predictable areas. And again, I'm going to say what I said a few weeks ago. They're very comfortable anywhere. You can catch them in 2 feet of water. You can catch them in 50. They're just going to be sitting anywhere. Because remember, even in the cold water, the deep, because we've had the warmer water in here, is still comfortable for them. It's not optimal, but they're still, I don't care if it's 52 degrees water coming in, they're still comfortable. It's not like they're thinking, I got to get out of here. They're fine. They're just not going to be really aggressive at that point.
There's a ton of bait in the back still, too.
Oh, my God. The bait,
so much bait.
The bait yesterday was insane.
So much. I mean, from peanut bunker to little silver size, like it was everywhere.
Yeah.
Literally everywhere.
Little snapper blues were moving through, little tiny guys. Mm-hmm. They were all over the place. Man. Yeah. So I would say this, don't give up on fluke fishing. Yeah. There are other species that you can target, but they're going to be there, and you just have to know where to target them based on the conditions. So yes, a lot are moving out, but there are so many of them that you still have a viable fishery for everybody that wants to fish for them to go all the way through the end of the season and beyond. So I just want to make that very clear to everybody. That is based on research and on personal experience. August is always my best month. I'm looking forward to September becoming my new best month this year because we never really got to go into September, and I had to work during the week. So usually I got one weekend. I'm not working right now, everybody. So I'm fishing weekdays. I am so excited. I can go fishing whenever I want.
We're going fishing Wednesday.
Yeah. So Qua, you want to go out, go target some redfish? Give me a call. He doesn't like to go on the weekends. I'm in for midweek stuff now. So Yeah, so that's the one question. Are there any questions that anybody has in the chat before we go on this one?
Oh, here's one. L wants us to go offshore when the mahi come in.
If I'm going offshore and I'm going in my boat, it's a kayak. So I will go offshore. I'm down.
She said the reef's 2 miles off the beach.
Is she jumping in a kayak and going with us, or is she going to watch us, or is she going to go out in her boat and we're going to tag along behind her?
I was going to say, if she gets in a kayak, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I am waiting for the Albion Bones run inshore up that way, and I plan to launch at some point up that way.
The Albion what?
The Bonita.
Oh, I'm not cool. I don't call them bones.
Oh,
yeah, man.
Whatever.
Get with the program.
I'm sorry. All right, so Elle's going to tow us out there. Yeah, I know it's inshore technically, but 2 miles offshore, meaning off the beach, is kayak lingo. And offshore to a kayak person is anything where you launch from the surf and you're out on the wrong side of the bay. Where if you keep going one direction, you end up in Europe. That's offshore to anybody in a kayak. So there you have it. Thank you to everyone for tuning in, and thank you to everyone that's sending questions to us over the months and continue to engage with us through social media, text, and yes, occasionally on the phone. Now, before I go, if you're not already following or subscribed to this podcast on the platform that you'd like to listen to podcasts on, that would be greatly appreciated. And of course, a positive review on any of the platforms that you listen to the podcast on would also be appreciated. It's the reviews and ratings that help us to draw more guests and to grow the podcast. So until next week, until next episode, get out there, get on the water, and get some tight lines.